Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1851B, and today's date is April 25th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Barr Knows It All, Pain, Panic, Something Big Coming in Weeks. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about staying healthy as we grow older. Stem cells are your body's natural healing system. You get a cut on your finger one day and the next day it heals up. Well, how does that happen? Easy. It's your bodily stem cells at work. Sad part is by age 65, you've lost 90% of your adult stem cells. But now you may be able to boost stem cells levels naturally within 1 hour by 30% with a new plant-based capsule. Everyone's chemistry is different, but for many, this produces a variety of benefits to help reduce the effects of aging. This product comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Please visit their website at stemup.com. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we are starting to see panic off the charts right now. I mean, we talk about Adam Schiff, Maxine Waters, John Brennan, Comey, and the rest. And people always say, well, where are the big players? Where's Clinton? Where's Obama? How come they're not out there panicking? Why aren't they running? Why aren't they doing this? Well, we're starting to see the first signs that Clinton, she's starting to panic. She wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, and you can see by what she was writing, she is starting to panic right now. She's starting to realize that everything that they tried to do, everything that they set up, has failed. And now what we're seeing is that the Patriots, they're on the offensive. These individuals are on the defensive. And what is happening is the Patriots, they have the documentation. They have the facts. They have the truth. They're not using propaganda. They're not going to be making things up. And they're very specific on that they're following the rule of law right down to the period, to the question mark, to the comma, to everything that's in the law books. So this way, these individuals can't weasel out of this. And we're going to be talking about this a little bit later. And Q has come back online and posted some bread, and we'll be talking about that. But what's very interesting is Joe Biden, he has thrown his hat into the presidential race. He put out a 3.5-minute YouTube video talking about Charlottesville and the riots and how Trump was behind Nazis and white nationalists and racists. And it's unbelievable. He noted that the neo-Nazis in Charlottesville were chanting the same anti-Semitic bile heard in the 30s. He then added that they were met by a courageous group of Americans and a violent clash ensued. But he forgot to mention something very important, that Antifa was one of the groups, and they came in and they caused violence. And then he was using this video to point the finger at Trump, saying that Trump was behind the Nazis, the white nationalists, and he called them very fine people. And of course, we know this is fake, phony, and false. Scott Adams sums up Biden's video that he put out in a tweet. 2 minutes into his official candidacy for president, human gaffe machine Biden praised a slave owner, endorsed Antifa, and spread the most damaging race hoax in American history. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Actually, the mayor of Charlottesville was out there saying, listen, don't use our town for your campaign. You know nothing of our town. You haven't even visited here. And guess what? If you came here, I don't know if the people would like you here. CNN right now has yet to correct or retract its on-air claim, repeated on several recent programs, that Trump referred to neo-Nazis as very fine people. What Trump actually said was the following. Excuse me? They didn't put themselves down as neo-Nazis, and you had some very bad people in the group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in the group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. And he continued, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group, other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, that were okay. And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers. And you see them come with black outfits with helmets, with baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too. And of course, they didn't want to take that whole thing. They only took bits and pieces of it to make it seem like he was agreeing with the white nationalists and the Nazis. And this is the game they're playing. And guess what? If you actually go onto YouTube and you look at his video, his thumbs ups and thumb downs are almost equal. And I have a funny feeling that pretty soon those thumb downs are going to be a lot more than the thumbs up, because people are starting to wake up and they're starting to realize that they cut and they splice and they don't tell the entire truth. But Joe Biden, he's going to have a lot more problems coming into this race. Forget about his creepy hands on people and things like that. He's going to have problems that have to deal with Ukraine. He will have problems with spying on the president. Let's go back to January 5th, 2017. So on January 5th, 2017, then FBI Director James Comey held a secret meeting in the Oval Office before he traveled to Trump Tower, New York, to brief President-elect Trump on the Hillary-funded junk Russian dossier. This unusual meeting to discuss the dossier and the FBI's Russian investigation that took place January of 2017 in Obama's White House was discovered in February of 2018 by the Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley. Senator Grassley uncovered a bizarre email from National Security Advisor to Barack Obama, Susan Rice, and she sent herself an email on January 20th, 2017. Now, according to Susan Rice's email, the junk dossier and the FBI's investigation into its claim was discussed in the meeting. Among the people in the meeting was Obama, Comey, Susan Rice, Sally Yates, James Clapper, John Brennan, and yes, Vice President Joe Biden. And you can see that Biden is mixed up in this. He was in the Oval Office meeting with the coup plotters as they orchestrated Comey's ambush on Trump. He knew exactly what was going on. So he has actually three problems: creepy hands and probably Epstein Island. He has the problem in Ukraine, and he has the problem with spying. Biden is going to be thrown out of this race very, very easily. Now, Trump continues to call the mainstream media fake news, and for good reason, because the Daily Caller News Foundation, they reported in May of 2018 how Buzzfeed created dozens of anti-Trump political ads for an anti-Trump SuperPac during the 2016 election, based on its mirage of personal information it collected from its own users. Now remember, Buzzfeed was the one that put out this article about Cohen, about how Trump spoke to him, and once the Mueller report came out, they had to apologize for that article. It was completely wrong. But during the time period, BuzzFeed refused to work with pro-Trump groups and ran anti-Trump hit pieces on its website. Jeff Geiser revealed that BuzzFeed was being paid at the time from the far left PACs. He tweeted out the following: "Here's a list of 2016 disbursements to BuzzFeed from major Democratic PACs. Note the big ones from Priorities USA and the timing." So when you look at this and you look at what he put up there, you can see Americans for Responsible Solutions, $25,000. Priorities USA Action, $500,000. Priorities USA Action, $1 million. He continued. In other words, while BuzzFeed was bashing Trump in its editorial coverage and highly consequential misinformation, it published the Steele dossier. It was engaged in micro-targeting and writing native advertorial articles aimed at fighting Trump, paid for by Democratic PAC. So yes, the mainstream media is the enemy of the people. And we're starting to get proof of this, and it's being shown to the public. Now, everything the deep state tried to do is now completely falling apart, and the cracks are getting larger and larger, and the deep state will not be able to contain the implosion. Cohen seems to be in trouble once again. Michael Cohen reportedly told comedian Tom Arnold that he's not guilty of some of the charges now, for which he pleaded guilty, and expressed frustration at the length of his sentence and lack of support from those in Washington. Well, think about what happened here. They told him that you're going to get this great deal if you do what we say. And if you have the information you're telling us you have, most likely you probably won't serve any time. Very limited amount of time, or any. And we'll keep your family safe. Cohen had nothing. And it turns out that he was a liar. And since he was a liar, people didn't believe him. And now those people, the same people that were using him, they don't need him anymore. Now Cohen is frustrated. He's not getting what he wanted. And it's falling apart for him. And he's complaining about it. Rudy Giuliani responded to Cohen's remarks in a tweet. Michael Cohen, in a recorded phone call, walks back parts of guilty plea. The Wall Street Journal, poetic justice for a disbarred lawyer who surreptitiously recorded his client and numerous others, including Chris Cuomo. Cohen is in trouble right now. He doesn't know what to do. And guess what? He might start to squeal on those that put him up to what he's doing right now. Now, the deep state is trying everything. The mainstream media is trying everything. They are so desperate, they are panicking. The deep state is trying to make the case of obstruction. They're trying to show Trump gave orders and his team didn't follow through on them, where he gave orders to fire Mueller, to do this, to do that. But the aides, his administration, they didn't listen to him, and that's why it never happened. No, it never happened because he never said it. But remember, the deep state, they don't have anything, so they're trying to make this case. Actually, Trump tweeted out the following. As has been incorrectly reported by the fake news media, I never told then White House counsel Don McGahn to fire Robert Mueller, even though I had the legal right to do so. If I wanted to fire Mueller, I didn't need McGahn to do it. I could have done it myself. Nevertheless, Mueller was not fired, and I was respectfully allowed to finish his work on what I and many others say was an illegal investigation. There was no crime, headed by a Trump hater who was highly conflicted, and a group of 18 very angry Democrats. Drain the swamp. Right now, you can see they're trying everything to get Trump on obstruction to push impeachment. It's not going to work, because remember, the D-Class, the OIG, and all the other investigations, it is going to bring down the House. And all of this is going to completely go away with a snap of a finger. Because remember, the Patriots, they have the documentation. The Patriots have the sign-offs. The Patriots have what they've done. The Patriots have the truth. The other side just has propaganda that they're pushing. That's why they're panicking. Now, Attorney General Bill Barr is scheduled to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee next week on May 1st to testify about Mueller's report. Barr will also appear before the Democrat-led House Judiciary Committee on May 2nd. Remember, Barr fanned the flames even more when he said during a recent Senate hearing that he believes spying did occur during this 2016 election. I believe he went ahead and said this, and the question was asked on purpose because Trump, the Patriots, they wanted that out there so those individuals that spied on Trump would start to panic and sweat. And once you start panicking and once you're afraid, you do stupid things. And guess who's monitoring them? The Patriots. They want to see what they do. And we are finding out a lot more about Mifsud and many other people. I mean, we know that he's been found in Italy. But Mueller's team also had connections to Joseph Mifsud. One of the members of Mueller's team was connected. Zainab Ahmad, a member of Mueller's legal team. We also come to find out that Mifsud also dined with Hillary Clinton, an Italian socialist, in 2016. It was one big setup. The deep state, foreign intelligence agencies, the Obama administration, and Hillary were all in on it. Now, something very interesting. We know that Julian Assange was released from the Ecuadorian embassy, or from what we've seen, he was arrested and then brought to a UK prison. And we know that Julian Assange's arrest and possible extradition has practically nothing to do with Chelsea Manning or her infamous leaks. I mean, those are the charges that they brought him up on. they're using this to get him back here to the United States. And the reason that the leaked data has absolutely no bearing on the political realities of today, because it was 10 years ago. They were a very big deal and worth pursuing back then. Today, it's kind of ancient history. The arrest of Julian Assange has to do more with the late Seth Rich, who was murdered on the early morning of July 10, 2016 in Washington, D.C. Incidentally, it was at this time in history, in July 2016, during the release of the incriminating DNC emails. And Assange said the following in an interview, which is very interesting. Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. There is a 27-year-old who works for the DNC who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. Now, on the basis of that comment, Assange could potentially be called to testify as a witness should the authorities decide to reopen the case in Seth Rich's murder. Remember, the blogs have now been removed. Clinton, Obama, James Comey, the Department of Justice official Bruce Orr, soon Rod Rosenstein. There remains the possibility that the Trump administration will be willing to hear what WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has to say about the greatest witch hunt in the history of U.S. politics. Assange's testimony, should it happen, may even help solve the mystery of the Seth Rich murder. Remember, this has all been planned from the beginning. We need to go back to post 1195, and this is very interesting. And Annan, back in April 19, 2018, said the following: "When will we find out about Seth Rich and Las Vegas?" And Q said, Seth Rich connected to DNC. MS-13. Julian Assange. Why did the D's push legal rep on family? June ETA. Now, this was April 2018, and Q is saying June ETA. Doesn't mean it's June of 2018. Q just said June ETA. So let's back up a minute. The Mueller report came out. There was no collusion, no obstruction. The blocks are gone. Clinton blocks are gone. Patriots are on the offensive. Assange was arrested in April, the same time that this post was put out there, for an old charge, and they don't know if he was the one Manning was talking to, because there's really no record. Manning believes that's who she was talking to. Q gives us a timeline, an ETA of June. Q never said which June. June is now fast approaching, and Assange needs to be extradited back to the U.S. Now, this is very interesting because it seems like the pieces are starting to come together here. Now, Guiliani, he dropped a bombshell. He said there used to be a Department of Justice standing policy: you cannot indict a Clinton no matter how much they obstruct justice, no matter how much evidence they destroy, and no matter how often they lie, and no matter how they committed perjury. You can't indict a Clinton. It's against the Democratic Justice Department rules. This is not a Democratic Justice Department, not a Republican Justice Department. It's the kind of Justice Department I work for. I prosecuted Republicans and Democrats. I didn't think either one of them had a monopoly on virtue or vice. And Julian was asked if Attorney General William Barr would follow up on the past allegations against Clinton and others, and he replied, I have absolutely no doubt. I have no inside information, zero, other than the fact that this is a man who believes in justice. Let's go back to post 3059. This was March 14th, 2019. Q said, A.G. Barr disgusted by what he discovered so far. In all my years and all my life, I've never would have thought, this is kill brackets, and they're empty, be possible within the halls of these prestigious federal agencies. Press conference coming. They will claim political attack. So we have seen the panic from Brennan, from Comey, from Waters, from Schiff, and many others. We are now starting to see panic from the big players in all of this. Clinton wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post. Now, Hillary Clinton viciously attacked Trump and fantasized about his impeachment Wednesday in a Washington Post opinion piece where she laid out a 4-point plan on how to hold President Trump accountable for obstructing justice and possibly breaking the law. Clinton said that what our country needs now is clear-eyed patriotism, not reflexive partisanship. Whether they like it or not, Republicans in Congress share the constitutional responsibility to protect the country. Hillary attacked Attorney General William Barr and accused him of obfuscation because of redactions he made with the special counsel's help to Mueller's report, redactions that are required by law to conceal grand jury secrecy. But it's a roadmap, Hillary said, of Mueller's garbage report. It's up to members of both parties to see where the roadmap leads to the eventual filing of articles of impeachment or not. Hillary Clinton said the Watergate offers a better precedent. Well, wasn't she the one who spied on her political opponent's campaign in Watergate? I mean, this is just unbelievable. Clinton called for televised hearings, like Soviet-style show trials, and said that executive privilege should not be used to shield Trump's counsel or aides. She tweeted out the following: Robert Mueller's report documents a serious crime against the American people. All Americans should demand action and accountability. Now, everything that she just said, think mirror. Let's take her tweet. Let's reword this a little bit. Barr's report documents a serious crime against the American people. All Americans should demand action and accountability. Can you imagine if Trump tweeted that out about Clinton? Think about what Clinton is saying. She wants televised hearings and said that the executive privilege should not be used to shield Trump's counsels or aides. So guess what? Isn't Court TV coming back on air? She's going to get her wish. She's going to have televised hearings, but she's going to be the one in court. She's the one who's going to be defending herself. She's panicking right now. We see that the Department of Justice has announced that the former State Department employee, who also happened to be a Clinton appointee, pleaded guilty to conspiring with who? Foreign agents. Who are the foreign agents? Well, China. And this is Candace Marie Claiborne. She was arrested by the FBI on March 28, 2017, and it looks like she is now pleading guilty. She had top secret clearance and provided internal State Department documents to Chinese agents in exchange for gifts and benefits. Well, if she's doing it, most likely, and we know Clinton was doing it, and many other people were doing it. They're starting to panic. They're starting to worry. They see what's happening here. They have lost all blocks. Giuliani even said it. Guess what? We're following the rule of law now. You lost your blocks. We're coming after you. Now, Trump went after the GCHQ. Now the GCHQ is panicking. And we know that the Five Eyes assisted Obama in the spying of Trump. And it seems the GCHQ is now hitting back at Trump. They're saying that everything he's saying is completely fake and phony. That it didn't happen. It's ridiculous. So they're getting nervous. It's unbelievable. Now, down at the border, we can see that things are going in the right direction. Trump is building the wall, and we're getting some stats out of the border here. The federal law enforcement agency that oversees all border and custom operations has arrested more people illegally crossing from Mexico into the U.S. in roughly the first 6 months of 2019 than in all of the previous year. So U.S. Customs and Border Protection said, as of last week, more than 418,000 people have been apprehended since October 1st. In all of fiscal 2018, from October 1st, 2017 to September 30th, 2018, there were about 404,000 people that were taken into custody. And now we have about 414,000 people. And these are in states like California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. But there's a much, much bigger bombshell that's coming out of the border agents that watch the border. Now, what percentage of illegal aliens do you think are crossing the border and claiming asylum? Do you think it's like 80%, 50%? That's what you think if you listen to the mainstream media and the politicians and everyone else, that they're all claiming asylum. But Carl Landrum, Deputy Chief Patrol Agent of the Yuma sector, released a surprising piece of information that only 6%, yes, it's 6, the number 6% of the people crossing the border are expressing a credible fear and requesting asylum. Yuma is one of the sectors where we are seeing large family units from Central America cross almost daily. A whopping 24,000 individuals in family units have been apprehended in Yuma for the first 6 months of fiscal year 2019, up from 6,400 in the previous year. Yuma is the third hardest hit sector behind the Rio Grande Valley and El Paso sectors. So what the mainstream media and what the politicians are telling you, that they're all coming in for asylum, fake, phony, and false. Actually, Cuomo was down there doing a report, and they asked one of these individuals, the illegals, saying, "Are you here seeking asylum?" And they're like, "No, we're here for a job. And I was told to bring my kid." So everything they've been telling us is completely fake. Now, Syria is out there, and they are demanding that the illegal presence of foreign troops of the U.S., France, Britain, and Turkey on our soil should be stopped and the international alliance disbanded. Now, the sooner Trump gets the troops out of Syria and the coalition forces leave, this will be a great turning point, because this will block the deep state from getting what they want. It's much harder to get back into the country once you're in there. So once the troops are removed, and this is why Trump was pushing this, it's going to be a very difficult time to try to get these troops back in. So he's really blocking them in this area. And the same thing's happening in many other countries. And we can see it in Libya and others. Let's get into some of Q's posts here. This is post 3317. Q gives us a video and says, look at the 11-minute mark. And Q says, listen very carefully to statements made by Joe D. It's happening. Take a listen to what Joe D said.
Back with me, Rudy Giuliani, and I want to bring in Joe DeGenova, former U.S. attorney, as well as Robert Ray, former Whitewater independent counsel. Joe, let me start with you. Bob Woodward, who's no Trump fan for sure, and certainly not a card-carrying member of the Republican National Committee, basically was saying this was the work of John Brennan.
Well, there's no doubt this is pretty simple stuff for career prosecutors like Rudy and myself. It has been evident from day one that there was a brazen plot to exonerate Hillary Clinton illegally, and then if she lost the election, to frame Donald Trump. This dossier was a knowing part of that. It was created by Hillary Clinton. It was created knowingly by John Brennan as part of a scheme to do everything they could to harm Donald Trump. The problem for Brennan and Clapper and Comey and Baker and all of them now is that the FISA court has already communicated with the Justice Department about its findings. And their findings are that for more than 4 years before the election of Donald Trump, there was an illegal spying operation going on by FBI contractors, 4 of them, to steal personal information, electronic information about Americans, and to use it against the Republican Party. There are going to be indictments. There's going to be grand juries. John Brennan isn't going to need 1 lawyer. He's going to need 5.
Robert Ray, let me bring you in on this, because you've also served as a federal prosecutor in the Whitewater investigation. Do you have confidence that we're ever going to get to the bottom of this, and by the bottom of it, find out just who was feeding at the bottom of the river here, and that people are going to be held accountable for the violation of civil liberties, for the corruption, the cover-up, and the attempted coup of a sitting elected president?
Now, as you can see, he laid it all out, and he's telling you that Brennan is going to need a couple of lawyers. Let's move on to post 3318. Q gives us everything from 3317, gives us a picture of the Punisher, and if you look at the file name, it's the same file name from the post on May 14, 2018, which means pain is coming. Let's move on to post 3319. Q gives us everything again from 3317, but down below says Michael S. Rogers. Now, a couple reports ago, I played a video clip of Admiral Rogers, and he explained the unmasking, how everything is in writing. They can track everything. Now, on the same video with Joe D. At the 1919 mark, Joe D said something very interesting. Take a listen.
Joe, very quickly, if you've got a word you want to add.
There's a hero in this entire story, and it's not a lawyer. All the bad people in this story are lawyers. There's a hero. His name is Admiral Mike Rogers. He was the head of the National Security Agency. He discovered the illegal spying. He went personally to the FISA court and briefed the chief judge and worked with her for months to uncover the people who did it. The FISA court has already been told and has already told the Justice Department who lied to that court, and that has been given to Bill Barr already.
Very powerful.
So Joe D mentioned a real hero, which is Admiral Michael S. Rogers. He was the head of the NSA, and between 2015 and 2016, Admiral Rogers saw a huge surge in queries on the FISA database, and he decided to investigate why this was happening. He discovered the illegal spying. He went to the FISC and reported this to the judges. Contractors, with permission from the FBI, were allowed to access the database. They ran queries which spiked the database because they really didn't know how to use it. Once Admiral Rogers realized who was doing this, he put a stop to it. The contractors lost access. John Carlin was in charge at the time. He was supposed to monitor what was happening, and it seems like he jumped ship because he realized that he was caught and he didn't want to go down with the ship here. And if we go back to post 1316, Q says John Carlin, Assistant Attorney General, head of Department of Justice National Security Division, fired, forced out. Now, Barr has all the documents of who lied to the judges, who signed off on all the FISA warrants. Remember, Rogers testified in front of Congress. He told us that everything is in writing. So Barr has it all. Joe D says there will be a report out on Comey in 2 weeks or so. Now, this should be a boom when this comes out. He also said that criminal referrals are also coming. Everything is happening. And as you can see, it's going the way it is planned. Post 3320. Q gave us a Twitter link to Sun Q'd Sue, and it says, I knew the fake news would attempt to connect the militia leader who was arrested on the border with hashtag QAnon. Sure enough, they tried to do it indirectly via the group he is a part of, United Constitutionalist Patriots. The charge, the UCP discusses hashtag QAnon. Gave us the article, and it says, oh, look, the person that was arrested on the border has ties to this group, which is ties to QAnon, and they're trying to connect it all. Q says, you attack those you fear the most. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. Let's move on to post 3321. And Annan points out that Q mentioned contractors in a previous post, and that's post 643. And Q says, plus 4 outside contractors. Q down below says, this is why we are here. Good find, Annans. Brackets bold, 4 contractors. Joe D stated tonight, 4 contractors. Nothing to see here. So basically, future proves past. And we can see it's all coming out. It's all true. Remember, when Q posts, it doesn't mean it's happening the next day. Q is giving us all this information, and Q continually says the future is going to prove everything that I put down in these posts. And that's what we see happening right now. Post 3322 gave us a Twitter link. The link says, these are the kind of Q proofs that are almost eerie. Today, Joe D tells the world about 4 FBI contractors spying for the 4 years prior to 2016. This Q drop is from January of 2018. Stay tuned. Q. Let's move on to post 3323. Gave us a Twitter link to Barack Obama. It's a picture of Obama looking through a magnifying glass in an elementary school, looking at a child saying, I spy. Q says, will this age well? Q. And remember, Obama was not just spying on Trump. The intelligence organizations, they were just not spying on Trump. If we go back to 2657, when will the public discover that Ted Cruz was also illegally surveyed? Pre-POTUS Republican nomination. CIA illegally surveillance, and this is an arrow pointing to members of Congress. CIA illegally surveillance members of the press. CIA illegally surveillance Senate intel room. And as you can see, they were monitoring all these people, spying on all these people to use whatever they can get to blackmail these individuals or to use it whenever they needed it. Now, coming out of the conservative treehouse, the headline of the article is, President Trump, it's now just a question of time before the truth comes out, and when it does, it will be a beauty. It says everything after March 9th, 2016 was a cover-up operation. President Trump can prove the July 31st, 2016 Crossfire Hurricane counterintelligence operation originated from a scheme within the intelligence apparatus by exposing the preceding CIA operation that created the originating electronic communication memo. Declassify that 2-page EC document that Brennan gave to Comey. The trail is found within Weissman Report and the use of Alexander Downer. Release and declassify all of the Comey memos that documents the investigation steps taken by the FBI as an outcome of the operation coordinated by the CIA Director John Brennan in early 2016. The trail was memorialized by James Comey. Reveal the November 2015 through April 2016 FISA 702 search query, abuse by declassifying the April 2017 court opinion written by the Fisk presiding judge Rosemary Collier. Show the FBI contractors behind the 85% fraudulent search queries. CrowdStrike, Vusion GPS, Nellie Orr, Daniel Richman. This was a weaponized surveillance domestic political spying operation. The trail was laid down in specific detail by Judge Collier. Carter Page Pfizer application, October 2016, was fraudulent and based on deceptions to the Pfizer court. Declassify the entire document and release the transcripts of those who signed the application and or depose those who have not yet testified. The creation of the Steele dossier was the cover-up operation. Release all of the Lisa Page and Peter Strzok test messages without redaction. Let sunlight pour in on the actual conversation that were taking place when Crossfire Hurricane July 16th and the FISA application October 16th were taking place. The current redactions were made by the people who weaponized the intelligence system for political surveillance and spy operation. This is why Page and Strzok texts are redacted. Release all of Brew Orr's 302s from FBI notes, from interviews and debriefing sessions, and other relevant documents associated with the interviews of Bruce Orr and his internal communications, including exculpatory evidence that Bruce Orr may have shared with FBI agents Joseph Pienka. Bruce Orr is the courier, carrying information from those outside to those on the inside. Release the August 2nd, 2017 2-page scope memo provided by DAG Rod Rosenstein to Special Counsel Robert Mueller to advance the fraudulent Trump investigation and initiate the more purposeful obstruction of justice investigation. Also released the October 20, 2017 second scope memo recently discovered. The scope memos are keys to unlocking the underlying spy surveillance cover-up. If the documents within these specific 8 bullet points were released in full and unredacted form, the deep state network would implode on itself. And I believe this is where we're headed. Everything that we've been talking about, all these text messages and all these things that they've been putting out drips and drabs to get the American people on board. We're going to see a little bit more of this, and then boom, in the coming weeks, we're going to see a lot happen. Hold on. Pain is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.